How do I find my voice as an audiobook narrator, as a performer, as an artist in general, particularly when I like doing a bunch of different stuff? I like dabbling in genres, and dare I say, I think I'm pretty good at it. If that's been on your mind, it's what we're talking about today because it's what our anonymous submission for subscriber feedback, Happy Thursday, has asked. So we'll start by talking through my thoughts, experiences, and advice about finding your voice, and then we'll dive into this sample with what time we've got left at the end. If you want to send in a sample, there's a form in the description. It's free. We do this every Thursday. If you don't want to wait the 1 to 2 months it typically takes to get to new submissions, you don't have to. You can join the Booth Buddies. You can go to my website for coaching, or I've got the Audiobook Academy app, which incidentally is 20% off for the next 2 days. Check it out if that's of interest. So how do you find your own voice? This is a question I get asked often. And it's something that a lot of people, myself included, at the beginning of their careers feel, I think, a bit of pressure to figure out that it has to be discovered ASAP. And the first thing that I would say about finding your voice is don't worry about it. It's there. It will be discovered. It will be found. It will be uncovered in due time. And there's no rush to get to that point. So release yourself of that obligation and pressure. The next thing is, the best way that I found to begin finding my voice was just to chase anything and everything that was interesting to me. That was it. That's the whole thing. Now, at the beginning of your career, what's interesting to you, because your career is still somewhat superficial in the sense that you're on the surface, you don't have deep experience yet with different genres, different types of work. And because it's all surface level, your interests are probably quite broad. You don't know what you don't know. And because of that broadness of that, you can chase things in a couple different ways, and this was my experience. I would chase projects, of course, that were interesting to me. Oh, this looks so cool. I really want to be a part of this. That's easy. Sometimes it's, man, this pays a lot more money than I've ever thought about making doing voiceover or audiobooks. I want to do it. That's fine too. Sometimes it can be, this offers me a great opportunity to learn something, whether it's the material, the type of work, the genre, the technical demands of the project in general. For myself, I did a lot of dubbing where I had to do voice to video and match flap, write scripts, learn full production softwares. It was a really, really deep and rich learning experience that I moved away from after a time. So you can chase your interests, particularly at the beginning, and then once you've started dabbling in what's interesting, anything and everything, the next step is to listen to the feedback that you receive from the world at large. And there are two different ways in which you receive feedback. Generally, you either get the job or you don't. And as you get that feedback, the more you get booked in something, you can listen to it and follow it. So for example, when I started out, I did a lot of meditation projects because apparently I have a very soothing voice that people like to listen to for long times. But more to the point, I didn't realize that I enjoyed that type of stuff, particularly then. I liked making people feel taken care of, making people feel seen, making people feel good in general, and meditation was a place to do that. So I did a lot of work in that vein. Parallel to that, audiobooks became a really deep vein for my career as well, where I got cast doing a lot of audiobooks. It was the biggest sector of my business and still is in many respects. And as that got deeper, I started to learn more within that vein. Oh, I get cast in a lot of thrillers, specifically thrillers of this type. I get cast doing books with a lot of different character voices. I really like doing this type of book, but I'm not getting cast a lot there. And listening to that sort of thing and taking it as information was really helpful in discerning not only what was more interesting to me than not, but also where the world was telling me that I fit in a way. So I didn't have to figure out what my voice was. I just listened to people, and that helped me to hone, I enjoy doing these types of things, and these are the types of projects that really resonate with me. So that's the following vein. You get the feedback that, hey, we like this for you, you fit here, and you keep going in that direction, and that can be really fruitful. The other way you can approach it is to take that information of either getting booked in certain genres or not, and use that to adapt and adjust. If, for example, you get cast doing a lot of audiobooks, but you're like, I really don't want to do audiobooks anymore. I want to do something else. What's working for you in audiobooks and what's maybe not working for you in these other places? You can take that information, adapt and adjust, and apply it to working more in that direction, if that's the way you want to go. In either case, you're taking information on board and using it to deepen the things that you're actually interested in. So the core remains your interest in things. That's always the North Star. Chase the things that are interesting. Now, in terms of thinking, hey, I can do anything and everything, that for me at least, and to be very clear, this isn't to dissuade you from trying or doing anything and everything that you want to or feel capable doing, but in my experience, that thought is a bit of a delusion, and that's through no fault of our own as individuals. It's simply that there are projects that, in my experience, as I've grown in my career, as I've learned things about myself and my voice as a performer, there are projects that I just don't fit or fit well enough relative to the wide world. And there are a couple of things specifically within that. One, there are a lot of people out there. And if something's hard for you to get your teeth into, that's okay, because there's somebody else out there that's not going to be a problem for them. And all of this comes down to you at your core. There are projects that are just really impossible for me to get my full soul behind. And that doesn't say anything about the project. It doesn't say anything about me or anything, really. It just means that it's not a project for me. And so releasing myself of that has been really liberating in a couple of ways. One, time. Two, just investment. It's really hard to think you've got to do everything. And focusing on things that fit me well is just much more rewarding at the end of the day, as long as I'm chasing the things that fit me and are still interesting in that way. Okay, let's talk about this sample with what time we have left. So this was a longer sample, and what we're going to do is just kind of bop around to different specific elements here to take a listen to each as they come.
Puppies are endlessly curious, and their curiosity is expressed with their mouths and paws. They nip at fingers, tug at shoelaces, and investigate the world by chewing on everything from table legs to phone chargers.
"No trouble, Ice Boy. We're here to eat," Christian swore. "Is being gay a must to work here?" Bryce sneered, seeing the rainbow flag hanging over the register. "Absolutely." 3 sets of eyes stared at Araya in disbelief.
Nice.
Chapter 1. I used to be full of hate, anger, rage. It lived in me like a second heartbeat. For a long time, I thought it was the only thing that kept me moving forward. My soon-to-be ex-wife used to say I carried it around like a coat I refused to take off.
Nice. Okay, so we've got 3 samples there, and for the sake of time, we'll limit it to those for the moment. But the first, kind of a how-to puppy or puppy learning puppies kind of thing. The second, a scene where some folks come into a cafe and start trying to shake stuff up, and the owner rejects them with kindness in a way. And then we've got a sort of sad, tough guy noir type thing. Really, really great, my friend. It's clear that you've got a good sense for genre, the ways in which you would want to seat yourself within those genres, and so on and so forth. And what I really appreciate is, I appreciate that in general, but I was thinking specifically about this puppy one. in that you can hear the like joy in you, and this feels more essential to you than it does to the genre. But for example, this bit,
and investigate the world by chewing on everything from table legs to phone chargers.
like only somebody who truly loves a little pup is going to be able to talk about how they destroy everything with that sort of love and joy in their voice in that way. So that's really, really great. My main note for these three, and somewhat to the point of the genre stuff, chasing what's interesting, all that jazz, this is somewhat a side effect, or it can be something that results from chasing different genres wholesale. Each project, if we take it at face value and individually on a case-by-case basis, then we approach it as itself, rather than a received notion or projected idea of what this should sound like. At any point, if we're saying this should sound like, or trying to reverse engineer what they want to hear, we're just out of the game immediately. And so by chasing the genre in that way, that tends to happen a lot. And with these, you're doing a great job at shifting from genre to genre. And I don't know necessarily that you're saying this should sound this way. But what's lacking for me, and what tends to lack or be removed when people are trying to reverse engineer, what should this sound like? It ends up becoming a tone rather than having the heart behind it. So using this puppy one as an example, I hear this sort of joy that's very honest. It feels very true that they approach things with curiosity. And what I don't hear so much are the experiences behind it. So as you're saying that stuff, being able to actually be like, the difference would be
Puppies are endlessly curious.
Puppies are endlessly curious. And then puppies are endlessly curious. Like, look at this one right here. It's a really, really subtle difference. But to talk, maybe this next one will be a little bit more specific in that way. These two characters in the cafe, this first one says some really gross stuff.
Is being gay a must to work here?
And then the response to that is just a really brilliant joy.
Absolutely.
Which is it's fantastic. It feels really great to meet, someone who's coming in with a hurtful or negative intent like that. Just say, yeah, of course. So that's great. But this is something that's specific to somewhat tangential, but a little in the same camp as the heart of the thing and having the same images. This character who says some stuff that is distasteful.
Is being gay a must to work here?
When characters have worldviews, opinions, beliefs that are not something we agree with, or something that is, like this, there is a temptation, in my experience, both personally and with colleagues that I've acted across or acted with, to acknowledge, hey, this is a lame thing to say, and to undermine it immediately, which is kind of what I think is happening here. The sneer of this character, what it does is it undermines this person. And the difficult thing as performers is it's our job to honor all the characters in an audiobook like this, at least. Even if, and dare I say perhaps, especially if they're having misguided views like this. Reason being, if we undermine this character's point of view by saying, as a narrator, and commenting on, isn't this person lame? And I'm not saying that that's what you're doing necessarily, but a byproduct of, or as the way I'm receiving it, that sneer and their sort of juvenile way of speaking, it discounts them immediately. And furthermore, it takes away some of the power of the response. So to say it another way, when we invest in and truthfully perform the characters that have worldviews that are bad, we give power to the resistance to those ideas rather than it just being reduced to a commentary on the thing, if that makes sense. Great work, my friend, on this. I hope this was helpful for you, and I hope the discussions at large were helpful for you and everybody else. And until the next one of these, be well, everybody. And just a reminder that the Audiobook Academy app is 20% off for the next 2 days. So try it if you're on the fence, and you can always return it if it's not your vibe. But if you're thinking about it, you can get a discount for the next couple of days. Anyway, toodles, everybody. Bye.